All right. Hello, my name is Alexander Derizzi, and I will be covering the problems with the meat industry and my humble proposition on how to solve these problems. The first problem with the meat industry is the amount of greenhouse gases that it produces. Cattle are the #1 agricultural source of greenhouse gases worldwide. In a single year, each year, a single cow will release about 220 pounds of methane. That is a single cow out of approximately 1.57 billion cows worldwide. And that's also exclusively the cows. Cows only represent about 40 to 50% of all meat livestock. The second problem is the amount of space that it takes to house that many animals. Doing a surface-level Google search tells that all of Earth's livestock takes up about 2.5 billion hectares. When I asked Google to convert that to feet, it gave a number big enough to require scientific notation. I then had to go to another website, and to convert that into standard form, I got 269,777,760,420,000 square feet. Over 200 trillion square feet. For reference, Russia is about 100 trillion square feet. That implies that an area greater than 2 Russias were deforested for the sake of livestock. Now I will briefly go over the mechanisms of growing meat in a lab. Lab-grown meat, also known as cultured meat or cultivated meat, is artificially grown meat that requires only a tiny batch of cells to create a whole meal. To summarize the process in a few sentences, scientists take cells from a living animal and put them in a device called a bioreactor. A bioreactor is a machine that is used to cultivate cells or microorganisms, in this case, meat. Said meat is then cleaned and cooked like any other meat would be. As mentioned before, cows create a hefty amount of greenhouse gases, and eliminating the need for that many cows would greatly decrease that number. Cows also take up a lot of space, and getting rid of that, let me remind you, 269,97,760,420,000 square feet of land could be used for forests instead of housing cattle. As we have covered in previous classes, prions are misshapen proteins. While all the diseases they cause are rare, all of them are incurable and 100% fatal. These diseases are called spongiform encephalopathy. I find this name comically well thought out, as it is a disease that fills your brain with sponge-like holes, as pictured in this diagram. Someone smart should definitely be thinking about prions when the topic of meat consumption comes up, as improperly handled meat is the #1 cause for prions in humans. Luckily, due to the way that lab-grown meat works, it's actually far less likely to have prions than in traditionally harvested meat. Cultured meat is safer than natural meat in this case. A majority of people, when polled on their opinions of lab-grown meat, say they would not try it for various reasons. A majority of these people said their reasoning was exclusively that it sounded weird. I believe that part of the issue is the foreign nature of lab-grown meat. Food is more than just a substance for us. It is culture. We have holidays dedicated to eating. When you go on a date, you bring them to a nice restaurant. Food is used as a welcome gift, a celebration, an apology, a show of gratitude. When's the last time you knew exactly where your meat was coming from? I would like to propose a solution to all these problems, a way to eliminate cattle farms and make meat more personal. I believe that culturing human meat for consumption could solve these problems. Similar to how a picky child is more open to eating a meal if they helped prepare it, I believe that including people on the creation of their own meat could get rid of that general feeling of being weirded out by lab-grown meat. I theorize that through something as simple as a cheek swab, someone could use their own cells to grow their own meat in an at-home bioreactor and create food without the need of any animals involved. While not available for purchase, a proof-of-concept prototype for a device that can make cultured lab-grown meat at home has been created, called the Carnery. This creation got very little publication and even less support. As of speaking, I am the only subscriber to the creator's YouTube account, which I find both comical and depressing. I included a QR code at the bottom here, linking to an article about the Carnery. I unironically do suggest checking this out. It's a very cool invention. This creation has no intention of creating human meat, but that doesn't mean that human meat has not been created in a lab. What you are looking at right now is the Ouroboros steak. It is named after the Ouroboros, a symbol depicting a serpent or dragon eating its own tail, representing an eternal cycle of renewal and destruction. This scientific art exhibit that was supposed to give the audience a way to think about the potentials of lab-grown meat. This is real, lab-grown human meat grown in a lab. However, because this was an art exhibit, it was never eaten, only shown off. And judging by the pictures provided, I believe it may have been encased in resin. Combining the Ouroboros steak with the Carnery shows that both at-home lab-grown meat and lab-grown human meat have been attempted. Combining these two topics shows the hypothetical of lab-grown human meat as a way to have meat products without the need for animals, and that it's realistic enough for it to happen. A vast majority of vegetarian and vegan people, when polled on why they refuse to eat meat, is for the sake of the animals involved. I believe that if animalless meat was in the market, that the number of people eating meat could change. A quick mention, the title of this presentation, A Humble Proposition, is a reference to a satirical essay made in 1729 called A Modest Proposal. The author, Dr. Jonathan Swift, tries to lull the audience into being convinced that eating babies could solve world hunger, poverty, and overpopulation. There's a chance one of your English teachers had me read it. Mine had me read it. And okay, that's my presentation. Wait a second. I almost forgot the unnecessary amount of dancing transformers I usually include at the ending slide of my presentations. There we go. That's better. Thank you very much. You're allowed to clap.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
You're allowed to clap.
I didn't know.
It's okay.